The Georgia Bulldogs put together a valiant comeback effort on Saturday against Alabama, fighting back from a 28-0 first half deficit before ultimately falling just short of pulling off what would have been one of the most epic comebacks in recent college football history, thanks, of course, to a wild array of self-inflicted wounds. And that is the most frustrating part of this loss for a lot of Georgia fans around the country. The reality that this Georgia team was not outmanned on Saturday night. That's not why the Dogs lost. The reality that Alabama didn't win this game because they are just more talented than Georgia. Alabama won that game because they played a cleaner, more disciplined, more fundamentally sound game than Georgia. And that is why Alabama was the better team on Saturday. They just played a cleaner, more disciplined football game. Look, Bama has fantastic players, and those players made plays. That was always going to be the case. But Georgia largely lost this football game because of things it did to itself, because of things that were firmly within the control of the players and coaches on that Georgia sideline. So in today's film session video, I go to the tape to prove to you exactly why that was the case.
We just stepped on their face with a hobnail boot and broke their nose. We just crushed their face.
What's up, guys? I'm Tyler, and this is the Glory UGA podcast brought to you by our great friends at MyBookie. Make sure to check them out for all your betting needs this college football season. And if you are a diehard Georgia fan looking for hardcore Georgia football coverage, you've come to the right channel. So go ahead and subscribe right now, like the video, comment, and most importantly, check out the Glory UGA podcast for a whole lot more coverage of the Georgia Bulldogs just like this. But all right, with that, let's get to the point today, guys. That loss on Saturday to Alabama was absolutely disgusting. I am disgusted by it. Not because we lost. Losing sucks, of course. No one likes to lose, but it's more palatable when the team that beat you was just more talented than you. They just had better players than you. That's easier to swallow when that's the case. I mean, think about it. Like, do Georgia Tech fans freak out every time they lose to Georgia? No, like they hate it. They don't want to lose to Georgia. It's a rivalry game of sorts, certainly more for them than it is for Georgia these days. But they don't lose their minds because they know the reality that Georgia's just more talented than them. They shouldn't be beating Georgia right now. Their rosters are in totally different places. But that was not the case between Georgia and Alabama on Saturday night. I'm not telling you that Georgia has an infinitely more talented roster than Alabama. The margins are incredibly small. You can make the argument that maybe Alabama has a slightly more talented roster. You can also make the argument that Georgia might have a slightly more talented roster. And you can't really say that either is wrong, right? The margins are so small, they're infinitesimal when you look at the talent, the rosters that both these teams have. But what makes this particular loss so hard to swallow, so hard to stomach, and leaves me downright disgusted was the reality that we largely lost this game due to a ridiculous spate of unforced errors against Alabama that we did to ourselves. We did it to ourselves. That Bama, for the most part, really didn't have all that much to do with. And the thing is, both sides of the ball were culpable here. You go back to the Kentucky game and say, man, the defense played great. That offense, man, what was going on in the first half against Kentucky? Not the case in the first half of this game against Alabama. Both sides share responsibility for that failure of a first half against Alabama. And it's not just both sides of football. It's also players and coaches alike. Both elements, the players and the coaches, have their share of responsibility for what went down on Saturday, at least in the first half, in Bryant-Denny Stadium. So without any further ado, let's go ahead, get to the tape, starting with the multitude of mistakes made by the Georgia offense on Saturday that ultimately left us just short of being able to pull off what would have been an absolutely epic comeback against Alabama. All right, guys, we're going to kick this off with two of the most egregious miscues by the Georgia offense on Saturday night that I think if you went back to the first half and said, oh, if we just don't do one of those things, we probably win the football game. It just so happened to be it was the same guy at fault on both plays. Now, Arian Smith made some big plays for Georgia in the second half. He's made big plays for Georgia so far this season. He's been our leading receiver through the first 4 games, the first third of this season. But these first 2 plays that I'm going to show you guys from the first half, unforgivable is too strong of a word. That's too much. We're going too far if you say unforgivable. But man, incredibly costly. And I don't think it's too far of a stretch to say that these two misplays here by Arian Smith ultimately end up costing Georgia the football game. Now, Carson Beck, some of his interceptions, you can also say cost Georgia the football game too, but I would say some of those were forced. And he was, especially the second interception he threw, we threw it almost like quadruple coverage. We'll get to that one a little bit later on. That one, I would say he was forcing the football because we were in a hole and he was just trying to make something happen. Not excusable, but somewhat understandable. But why were we in that kind of hole? Because of these two mistakes, largely because of these two mistakes that Arian Smith made early in this game. So let's go ahead, roll the tape here. You're going to see Alabama. They are going to be in their typical single high safety look that they're in about like 85 to 90% of the time. Really, it looks like it's a cover 3 match because what you're going to see here at the snap, you are going to see the safeties are going to rotate, right? So you have one high safety. This guy, when we send a guy in motion, he is going to come down to the passing string because this is the passing string. Now this becomes passing string when we come in motion here. And when that happens, when you come down the passing string like that, that's going to be cover 3 match. And you can see they're matched up. Man. So it's cover 3 match, I believe, based on what the indicators that I see here. But regardless, it's a single high safety look, which Alabama runs a ton. And we were always going to have chances. I told you guys this last week in the preview. We're going to have chances to hit vertical shots down the field. Because every team that Alabama has played prior to that, Western Kentucky, South Florida, and Wisconsin, they all had shots down the field. They just couldn't hit them. South Florida, I showed you last week in the film session last week, they had shot after shot after shot, and they just simply couldn't hit it. And it was primarily Xavier Brown, the true freshman quarterback. And oh yeah, who is this right here? That's true freshman Xavier Brown, number 2, the guy I told you would give us chances to hit some vertical shots down the field. And we have our number 1 speed guy, Arian Smith, our leading receiver on the season. We have him matched up one-on-one out here. This is what I was talking about. This is tailor-made to create a big play against Alabama's defense, the type of play that other teams just hadn't been able to hit. I thought Georgia might have a shot to hit him, and we should have hit it. So, all right, with that, let's run the tape. I've done enough talking. You see motion. Gonna swing down here. So got a single high. This also might be the single best deep ball that Carson Beck has thrown in his entire Georgia career. And we know that he has some issues with that at times last year, took some criticism, took some flack for that. That's an absolutely gorgeous moonshot deep ball that hits Arian Smith. You'll see it here again on the replay. In the hands, in stride. I'm not saying he would have scored, but he could have caught the ball and potentially broken that tackle and scored here. I mean, I don't know what else you want as a receiver. I mean, yeah, just tough to watch. Now, this one, I think is more egregious. Let's watch this play out. Let's just let it roll, and then we'll come back and we'll break it down bit by bit here. So you can see Carson Beck's audible. He sees an all-out blitz here. It's like a 7-man pressure. So what do? You check to a screen, right? Yeah, you check to a screen because there they are. Kirk Herbstreit's counting them off. There's 7-man pressure. That is an all-out blitz. That is what that is, all right? That's zero coverage. And that is zero coverage because where are the safeties? Oh, they're not there. Man, and then man out here, right? So this is man coverage all the way. There is no deep safety here. They are bringing the house, baby. That's what they're doing. So Carson is going to check to an audible. He says, oh, yeah. Well, with all these guys coming, if we run a screen and we get a block here and we send all these guys out here, well, we have more blockers than have defenders out there in space, and we got the fastest guy on the team right here. If he just catches it and breaks it up the seam, that's a touchdown. It's a touchdown, guys, and this is a great look from this angle right here. Watch. Who's going to tackle Arian Smith? If he actually runs the screen here, who would have tackled this man? With all those blockers? Nobody. All right, let's run it back here just a little bit, all right? So right here. So Arian should be right here. Okay, that's where you should be catching that screen. It's a jailbreak screen. So you have Oscar Delp coming here blocking this guy. Now this guy's out of the play right here. You have 3 defenders now to block one guy. You can maybe say the backside, backside guards that Micah Morris could peel off and block this guy here. But that's a touchdown. That is a touchdown. It's a touchdown right there. So if Arian Smith makes those 2 plays, it's at the least, the first play, I can't guarantee that on the first try would have scored a touchdown, but it probably would have set up at least a field goal. This would have been a touchdown. That's 10 points right there. And on this play, when Alabama picks this ball off, they then convert it into a touchdown. So it's a 17-point swing right there on the first 2 drives, and there's one player at fault for that. It's Arian Smith. I don't want to kill the kid, man. I love him. He works hard. He's a great dude, great teammate. Always hear great things about him, and I want good things to happen for him. I've been a huge defender of Arian Smith over his entire career at Georgia. It's hard to defend that. It's hard to defend that. So I don't know, man. That's what I'm talking about. Alabama didn't do anything there. You can say, oh yeah, all out blitz. We had the right play. Carson Beck did exactly what he was supposed to. That's a touchdown. That's a touchdown, except for one guy out on the entire offense. 1 out of 10 plays. Everyone else got the signal, right? You can say, well, it's a loud environment. Arian missed a signal. It's not his fault. Everyone else got the signal. If he didn't get the signal, whose fault is it? Everyone else is running a screen here. He's the only guy running vertical down the field. So, great guy, made a lot of plays for us, but that 17-point swing in the first half, that's on him. And if we don't get into that hole, it's a totally different ball game, man. Totally different ball game. We're not taking out of our run game. We're not taking out of our game plan. Within essentially a quarter, we were more or less taken out of our offensive game plan. And we had to adjust on the fly. We did a great job of that second half. In the first half, we were all out of sorts because the run game was staying on the equation. Our game plan was still out the window, and we were just kind of on tilt. And Arian Smith, I would argue, played the biggest role in that. All right, so I know I went deep on those, but those two, man, I think those are the most egregious mistakes all game long. Okay, now here is where Carson Beck comes in the equation. Now, that first pick, that's on Arian Smith. That's not on Carson. Carson did what he was supposed to do. He threw to a spot where his guy's supposed to be. You trust him to be there. You call the audible. The guy misses the signal, and it's an interception that turned to a touchdown. So now you're down 21-0 in the blink of an eye. Well, now we fast forward to a little bit later in the first quarter, or in the first half. In the second quarter now, we're down 28-7. Now, this is where Carson Beck's going to throw his second interception. Now, so if you want to criticize Carson and say, yeah, you can't throw this pick, I agree with you. This ball cannot be thrown. But I've had some people push back, say it wasn't Arian's fault. He wasn't the biggest one to blame. It was more Carson Beck. I disagree on that. Carson did not play his best game by any stretch of the imagination. Had some brilliant moments in the second half, but also was certainly a contributing factor in putting us in the hole that we were in the first half. And this is evidence right here. Like, it's 28-7. But it's still early, guys. We still have a shot here. But Carson's forcing it. And that's why I would argue that Arian was more responsible in this first half offensively, because he was, I think, more to blame for putting us in this situation where Carson Beck feels like he has to force it. Now, Carson, you can't force this ball, but he's trying to make a play. We're down 28-7. It's late in the first half. He's trying to get some momentum going at halftime, and he just straight up forces the football. So let's let it roll, and we'll go back and break it down. He's trying the seam route here to Arian. Ball's too flat, man. I don't love the decision, but I don't hate the decision. There's a window there, right? It's not a big window. This is a very small window right here to fit that ball into it. Elite quarterbacks with elite ball placement and elite arm talent can make that throw. Carson could potentially make that throw, but it is a high risk throw here. It's a very risky throw. And if you're going to make that throw, if you decide you make that throw, you've got to layer that ball over the top of these two defenders. You got to layer that ball. You cannot throw a flat laser shot like Carson throws here. When you throw it the way he threw this football, you throw it right into the defender's hands. Now, this defender, I think it says Campbell, the guy who actually makes the pick, he's dropping deeper than I think Carson anticipated, but you got to see that, man. That's on you. You've got to see that. So when you throw the ball as flat as that, what are we doing? The decision itself is it's ill-advised because this defender, Campbell, is dropping into that. Now, Carson, what he's thinking is going to happen, we got this shallow cross right here, right? The shallow cross, and he's expecting the shallow cross to occupy the linebacker, Jahad Campbell. And it probably does the most of the time in practice, but it does not here. Campbell's sinking. He's sinking. He's not worrying about the shallow cross. And so when he sinks like that, he's closing that window. Is there still a window? Yeah, kind of, sort of, but not much of one. So Carson, you can't really throw that football. I get he's trying to make a play, but you can't throw that football. And if you do choose to throw that football, you got to try to layer it, man. Got to try to layer that. You can't throw it that flat. What are we doing? Cannot do that. And it's not that he's locking in. You can see he's going through progressions there. He's trying to look him off. But let's go. I also want to go back to the shallow cross here. So this shallow cross that we're running, trying to occupy these linebackers here, I guess this guy as well. If this is any other game where we're not down 28-7, this is where I said Arian Smith putting us in this hole contributed to Carson making this decision. Now, Carson made the decision. That's on him. But I think he's trying to make a play when we're down big here in the first half. If this is a situation where maybe it's like a 21-14 game or a a 17-14 game where he feels like we're closer in this game than we were at that point. He takes this check down. You know he does. People call him check down Charlie, right? He takes this shallow cross check down 9 times out of 10. But in the scenario, given the context, down 28-7 at this point, late in the first half, he feels like he's got to try to make a play, put the team on his back, and that's dangerous, man. That's dangerous when there's that much clock left. But you saw what we were able to do in the second half. But this is another one of those plays that if we don't make this play, Carson doesn't make this throw, could potentially win the football game. Absolutely could potentially win this football game. So just another one of those catastrophic mistakes that we made offensively in the first half. Okay, this next one is a play that I haven't heard a lot of people talk about in this game because there are a lot of miscues and a lot of plays that just make you shake your head and just say, oh my God, what's happening? And so this was kind of lower on the list, but it's higher on the list for me. I know more people are going to put more of an emphasis on the safety itself, which is the next play. But this is the play right before the safety. And I'm highlighting this play because this is an abysmally bad throw by Carson Beck. A horrific throw. This could have been a touchdown. And even if it's not a touchdown, if we just hit it, the potential safety is taken out of the equation, and it never happens. And the safety never happens. You know what happens? Georgia wins the football game down the line. That's what would have happened after how it played out. We didn't know at the time, but after how it played out, that's what would have happened. So let's let this play run and see what I'm talking about. Oh, I don't want to watch this again. Oh my God. I have no words. I don't fully know what Carson's doing here. I don't know if Dylan's running his route too deep because Carson, there's really no pressure. He's able to step into this ball, release it relatively unmolested, and you throw the ball 3 yards short. That's not Carson Beck. That's not the Carson Beck that we came to know last year. It's been the Carson Beck at times this year, and I went through that with the film study last week, which you can go back and watch, and how Carson Beck might or might not have regressed some this year. This is evidence of regression. If you're of the mind that he did regress, you point to this and say, oh yeah, he's regressed. Because, I mean, look, I know he wasn't a super proficient deep ball passer last year, but these crossing routes, he was lethal on. Look, if you hit him in stride, like you did Arian Smith on the first drive, that's a touchdown. I think that's a touchdown. So not only does the safety not happen, but we score a touchdown. That's another 9-point swing right there. And somebody remind me, how many points did we lose by? Oh, yeah, 7. Georgia wins the football game if he hits that throw. But he doesn't. He doesn't hit the throw, and then that sets up on third down. You can see that they are coming in once again with a 7-man all-out pressure here. Now, my issue with this is what in the holy are we calling here? Does Carson audibles to this? Okay? This is questionable. Now, Carson, like cerebrally, last year he was a cerebral assassin, like all Triple H style, right? He's a cerebral assassin. He was an elite processor, and he sees what's coming. He processes that. I question the decision to check into what he checks into because you can clearly see he's audibling, right? He's making a check in the line of scrimmage. All right, cool. Well, when that's the case, if you want to throw it deep, that's fine. Probably a fade, right? Probably a fade makes sense here. I think with the cushion they're giving us, a slant makes a lot of sense because with the pressure they're bringing, if you run a 2-yard slant, 2-step slant with the cushion they're giving us, if you can break that tackle, which Dylan Bell has the propensity to do, you might bust that up the seam. That might be a touchdown there. But what are we doing? We're checking into a double move? And maybe we're not checking into a double move. Maybe he's just setting the protections. That's possible. I don't know. Maybe he's setting the protections. But even if he's just setting the protections, why are we not getting out of this play? Because we're going to run stutter and go. When they're bringing a 7-man pressure, when you have the blink of an eye to throw the football, you're going to run a double move? There's no time for that play to develop. There's no chance. So when he gets the pressure in his face, which predictably he's going to get when they're bringing an all-out blitz, once again, bringing the house, bringing a 7-man pressure, you have no time. This has to be a quick hitter. Double moves are not quick hitters. So when he gets the pressure in his face, which he's going to, you just throw the ball up. And he knows, or he thinks his receiver's going to be out here, but he doesn't give him enough time when you run a double move to get down the field. And so they call safety. I somewhat have an issue with the call because by the true letter of the law, right? Is it intentional grounding? Like you think about the word intentional. Was he intentionally trying to throw the ball away? I think he's trying to throw the ball at Dylan Bell, but Dylan Bell gets held up because he's running a double move. But they're going to call that. They're going to call that 10 times out of 10. That's just how they call that play. I don't love how they call that. Even when it's not Georgia, when they call it, I'm like, guys, there's supposed to be a receiver there. He thought a receiver would be there. Receiver wasn't there. It's not his fault. He's not intentionally throwing it away, but that's just how they call it. But here you go. You can see it. I'll watch from a couple angles. There's no time. There's no time. They're bringing too many guys, outnumbering you. He might have been there if you don't run the double move. But if you watch it down here at the bottom, he's running a double move. There he sits. Don't get it. And this is another one that is just 100% on Carson Beck. These are things that he didn't do a year ago. When I broke down his season last week, when we did the Is Carson Beck Regression film study, which again, you should go watch if you haven't already. One of the things I talked about in the Kentucky game is happy feet. Feeling pressure that's not there, like seeing ghosts, things that aren't there. And he didn't do that last year. He's a pocket passer. Carson Beck is not the kind of guy that's going to go outside the pocket and going to create. That's where he is, I don't say a liability, but that's certainly not his strong suit. That's not his skill set. He's a pocket passer extraordinary. That's what this guy does. So stick in the pocket at all costs, man. In this play, there's no pressure that's going to force him out of the pocket. But he just leaves anyway. There's no pressure. What are we doing now? You're going to see the end zone angle here. You can see the all 22 coaches angle, and there's nobody really open. So maybe you can say, all right, he's trying to escape the pocket. He's trying to get these guys time on the scramble drill to just create out there and play some backyard football. Fine, but you're a pocket passer. You run into this sack. Carson ran into that sack fumble, and that is on him. That is 100% on him. And I'd also say, like, if you give this a beat longer, Oscar Delp's going to come open. It's going to be a tight window, but you showed me the first half. You don't seem to have a problem throwing the tight windows in that game. That ball, he's going to, look, he's already bailing. He's already bailing out the pocket, and he hasn't given Oscar Delp's route enough time to actually come open. I'm talking a beat longer. That route comes open in the middle of the field here, and that sets up at least a field goal there. At least a field goal. But Carson bails, and even though Alabama, when they force this fumble, they don't score off of it, it takes time off the clock. And also, we're in good field position here, guys. This is, I believe, if I remember correctly, let's go back and double check. I believe that this was a first down play. Yeah, 1st and 10. 1st and 10. We're moving the football, man. And now that hurts his field position, it hurts the clock. When clock is working against us here, when trying to mount this comeback, it's just, you can't do it, man. And he wasn't doing those things here. That's a self-inflicted wound. And finally here, the final sequence, down by a touchdown. We mount the comeback. We take the lead. Alabama comes right back, takes the lead. But now we're moving down the field. We got a chance to put this game into overtime and maybe go for 2. I probably would have gone for 2 and tried to win the football game. I don't know if Kirby would have done that. But what we have done here, and all you Mike Bobo haters out there who want to say he was the problem, no. I'm sorry. My opinion, not the problem. He schemes this up, man. We've got our number 1 contested catch guy in Colby Young matched up on, remember that guy I talked about earlier, Xavier Brown, their true freshman? 1-on-1 out there. He schemes it up. So we go trips to the boundary. We've got 1-on-1 to the field, and he's going to have a chance to make a touchdown catch here. He's going to have a step on him. Carson's trying to throw it. He's trying to throw it into the end zone. He underthrows it. He underthrows this. If he throws it out in front of Young and allows him to make a play, I do believe this is the touchdown. You can disagree with me, but let's watch it here. He makes him stop and come back. He's got a step on him. If he throws it out in front of him, that's a touchdown. It's a walk-in touchdown. Now, Bama have more time on the clock. Maybe they come back and they score again. I don't know. But underthrows it. Xavier Brown knows this. He's not celebrating. He's like, damn, man, I was beat. Got bailed out. Yep, you did. You did. Got bailed out by a poor throw by Carson Beck. Man. All right, here we go. Okay. Nah, it wasn't interference, Kirby. Look at this, man. He's got it. It's a touchdown, baby. Got to hit it. No. Sorry for the noises, guys. It's just tough to watch. And then, here we go. Final play. You all know what happens here. Actually, I take that back. Not the final play. So we get it down here. Thought I had it set up for you guys. My bad. All right, here we go. Now let's get to the final play. Once again, let's look at what we've got here. Colby Young, number 1 contested catch guy. That's what he does, right? Contested catch machine. Xavier Brown, true freshman, not super physical right now. Big physical receiver, veteran. Single high safety look. Again, which is just what Bama does, right? It's 90-ish% of the time. That's what Alabama's doing this year. And Mike Bobo has once again schemed this up. We got what we want here, man. We got what we want. A good throw, like the throw he made against Clemson. Remember that throw, the touchdown catch that Colby Young had against Clemson in the end zone, the back shoulder, where Carson, great ball placement there. I know he can do it. He showed me he can do it. He was great that last year. You put the ball high and outside where only Colby Young has a chance to get it. It's either he catches it or it's incomplete. You cannot put this low and inside, because if you put it low and inside, that's where the defender can make a play on it. And oh yeah, that's exactly where Carson Beck puts this football. So, yet another mistake. If we don't make this mistake, probably win the football game. Yeah. I have no words. What is there to say? What is there to say? Let's see the other angle here. Kirby's like, man, what are we doing? What happened to my Carson from last year? All right, so if you put this ball here, right there, where he did against Clemson on the other side of the end zone in week 1, that's a touchdown. Instead, he puts the ball here, where the defender can make the play. And also, you can see Xavier Brown's playing the back shoulder. I get why he's playing back shoulder, because that's kind of how we use Colby Young. When we've used him in the red zone, we're throwing back shoulders to him so far this season. So honestly, what Carson probably should have done is thrown this over the top. If you throw it over the top, Xavier Brown's not really in position to make a play on the ball over the top. But if you're going to go back shoulder, if that's what you feel comfortable with Colby Young, if that's the play you guys rep and you feel really strongly about that play, you throw the ball here. Okay? You do not throw the ball there where he throws it. And yeah. The rest, as they say, is history. Yep. There you go. One more time. And that's all she wrote. So yeah, disgusting. I think that word fits. Vomit-inducing. I don't have much hair left these days, but it makes you want to pull out what little hair you have left when you set through that game and you go back and put yourself through that and watch those clips. It's hard, guys. It was hard for me to go back and rewatch as many times as I have at this point, to pull out those clips, timestamp them, pull them out, cut them up, record over it. That was painful because, man, we could have won that game. Easily could have won that game. Think about it. If we just don't make one of those mistakes that I just ran through there with you, those weren't all the mistakes, those are just some of the highlights. If we don't make just one of them, I'm pretty sure we win that football game. And I mean, think about it, guys, which one of those mistakes that I just showed you, which one of them could you say really was an error that Alabama forced us into? I think maybe the safety, with them bringing the pressure like that and basically playing like zero coverage behind it. You can say, okay, they forced Georgia into that. Potentially, I would argue that we should have seen that coming, which we did, and checked out of that. And because we were in a double move there, probably should have checked out of that. But you could argue the safety. Outside of that, I think everything else was a self-inflicted wound that we did to ourselves, and that cost us this game. That is very difficult to stomach. But as much as the offensive miscues were to blame for that loss to Alabama, the offense was not alone in its poor play, its poor execution in that first half. So now let's go back the tape and turn the spotlight on some of the defensive miscues that we saw against Alabama. Because on the defensive side of the ball, I want to start on the opening drive of the game. At this point, you can see 0-0. We don't know what's about to happen yet. But we had a chance to get off the field with no points on this first drive. We have Bama where we want them. You want them in third and long, where they can't put you in as much conflict. When they're in third and short, they are lethal because the defense is put into conflict between Jalen Miller being able to run the football, hand the football off, or throwing the football down the field. It's incredibly hard to defend them in third and short. Third and long, much more manageable. This is where we want to be early in the game. And in this play, you're going to see, you remember this play, this is an incomplete pass. It's fourth down. We get the football back. Maybe Aaron Smith catches the football on the next drive. He doesn't, but whatever. At least we're not down 7-0. But we jump offside. So go and run this one. And this is like, you can say, oh, well, Bama did the hard count. Yeah, they did. But this is something that is within our control. Jalen Walker, loved the guy. There's no bigger fan of Jalen Walker's on planet Earth than this guy right here. But as Kirby said, we rep this time and time again. This is coming. I know it's different when it's on the field, but now they're in third and short. And they convert the first down the next play. They continue to matriculate the ball down the field, and they score. They go up 7-0 early in that game. All right, now I know what a lot of you are disgusted by when it comes to Georgia's defensive effort in the first half against Alabama was the perimeter run game yet again. I know that because our listeners sent in a ton of questions about that very thing. I was on social media on Saturday night, saw that question, that comment thrown out time and time again. So let's go there. What are some of these issues that Georgia's having slowing down the perimeter run game now for almost a year and a half? So this is on that first drive, all right? Going back to that first drive, they're running a simple fly sweep, man. And they get 11, 12 yards on this. First down, 11, 12 yards. Jeremy Bernard. So what's happening here? Couple things. First off, Janelle Aguero is going to get reached, all right? And he's attacking the blocker, which is what our coaching staff wants him to do. But this right here, he's going to get reached. You've got to disengage from that. And he couldn't. And this is not just a Janelle Aguero thing. You saw this all night long. You'll see in a couple other clips. We would go attack blockers, but we don't disengage. And oftentimes, this has been one of my issues with this Georgia defense for a year or so now, a couple years maybe. We do a great job of attacking blockers. And you got to do that, especially when you're setting the edge and you're trying to force the ball back to your pursuit inside. But you don't need to attack the blockers at the expense of making the play on the ball carrier. The name of the game on defense, after all, is making sure they don't score. How do you make sure they don't score? You get ball carriers on the ground. So if you have a chance to make the play on the ball carrier, make the play on the freaking ball carrier. And you're going to see that right here on the edge here. So Janelle gets... So Janelle kind of gets reached there, and then Julian Humphrey, there he is. He's attacking the blocker, which is what he's coached to do, right there. But look, he's putting his inside shoulder into that blocker. If you take that, and I know what he's coached to do here, because he's the outside man, right? He's got to make sure he keeps contained, so you can't let that man get outside of you. You got all the pursuit right here. You want to force him into that. I understand that. But take him on with both hands. Take him on with both hands. That way you can shove him, you can disengage from him, and make the play on the actual ball carrier who, oh yeah, by the way, runs right past you because you went to the blocker like a freaking magnet. Make the play on the ball carrier. I get what you're doing. It's fundamentally sound to a degree, but don't do it at the expense of actually making a play on the ball carrier. Rewind it again. Watch this. It's a magnet to the lead blocker. Make the play the ball carrier. Don't let him run right by you. What are we doing? What are we doing? Fundamental things, man. That's not Bama. That's us. That's an us thing. You'll see it again here. Here's a better angle from the end zone. Aguero gets reached. Hey, I know if you jump inside, he can bounce outside. I understand. That's why you take him on, you play it neutral, you engage with both hands, and then you throw him out of the way, and you make him play the ball carrier. Now, also, Dan Jackson, there's another thing. Look, Dan played well. I know you got a shout-out by Shannon Sharp. Dan played really well. Dan, you got to get downfield, baby. You got to be flying into that alley. You got to be flying into that alley with reckless abandon. That's what you got to do. He's too slow getting there, man. And Dan's a much better athlete than people give him credit for, but he's also not a Malachi Starks, KJ Bolden level athlete. And so you can see here, when we go back to it, he just doesn't get there, man. He's like, he needs to be there now. He needs to be there now. If he's there, that's a 2-yard gain, maybe not a 12-yard first down where they keep the chains rolling. So a couple things there on that particular play. All right, now on this one, let's let this roll. Christian Miller. I love Christian Miller. We scheme it up, man. Give Schumann credit. Give Kirby credit. They scheme it up right here, right? So we're going to get a blitz. We're going to get Raylan Wilson, who is going to be coming right here. So these two blockers right here are going to be engaged with these two defenders right here. That leaves Christian Miller unblocked. We schemed that up very well. He is unblocked. You got to make the play, baby. I know Jalen Milroe's a stud. I get it, man. I know what kind of athlete he is. He's a better athlete than you. Yes, but you've got to get the man on the ground. When you've got a chance on the first drive here, look how many chances we had in this first drive to at least hold him to a field goal, if no points at all. And we just simply did next to you. These are not things Bama's doing. These are things that we are screwing up. And that's what I'm talking about. We're just screwing this up. Make the play. And also, Malachi Starks, don't get juked out of your pants, man. And there goes Milroe. Here's another angle. Free runner, man. Free runners got to get quarterbacks on the ground. I don't care if it's Jalen Milroe. I know how good he is, but I don't care. Get him on the ground. No excuses. All right, now this one. Dan Jackson. This is eye discipline. So there are a couple plays I have here that are going to highlight our lack of eye discipline, which was a major issue for us a year ago. And you kind of excuse it to a degree because we were so banged up at inside linebacker, who were the primary culprits last year. When you're playing like true freshmen, C.J. Allen, Raylan Wilson did a really good job for us last year, but they were true freshmen. The Auburn game in particular was terrible. Egregious eye discipline, poor eye discipline in that game. And like I know when you have mobile quarterbacks like Jalen Milroe, they put the stress on you. I know it's tempting to want to put your eyes in the wrong spot, but you've got to play discipline. This is case in point, guys. This is on us. We are not playing disciplined football. And you know we rep this time and time again. But I want you to watch, let's watch Dan Jackson right here. All right, watch his eyes. Watch his eyes and watch the slight false step. A slight false step against Jalen Milroe is game over. It's lethal. You're done because he is that kind of athlete. But watch Dan. Slight lean into the run game, or into the running back, right? To the handoff. That's not your job. That's not your job. Do your job. Love you, Dan. You did some really good things for us in this game. That's not your job, okay? Jalen Milroe is already a better athlete than you. But when you take, let's go back again. When you take this false step towards the running back, to the handoff, these guys, that's their job. That's their job. Trust them to do their job. Your job as this safety here is to take Jalen Milroe if he pulls the ball. If he gets a pull read, you've got to be there to make the play. And when you jump inside the way that you did, now you lose your angle. And when you lose your angle against Jalen Milroe, you have zero chance. Zero chance. Eye discipline. Eyes in the wrong spot. This one's just a poor run fit by Raylan Wilson. There's another edge run, perimeter run. It's a horrific run fit by Raylan Wilson. I love Raylan Wilson. I think he's really talented. And I'm going to give TID credit. TID on the edge here at the 5-tech does his job. He's going to spill the blockers. We call this closing on the blockers, on the pullers in our defense, in Kirby Smart's lingo. So you can have the pullers. He's going to blow this guy up, right? He's going to blow him up. That's his job. And then it's Raylan Wilson's job to fit right here and make the play. However, Raylan Wilson screws up the run fit, and he fits it too far inside. So what we're doing here, what TID is doing, he's basically spilling this play to the outside because he's going to blow up the blocker here, the puller. And so when he spills to the outside, Raylan Wilson should be fitting to the outside here, the C gap, and he's got to be there to take the play, take the running back, take the ball carrier when that play is spilled out to him. But you're going to see he does not do that. He gets caught inside, and there's nobody there. Where should Raylan Wilson be on this play? Raylan Wilson should be right here. But no, Raylan Wilson's right here. He's in the gap inside of where he's supposed to fit that run, and that leaves nobody out there to take Justice Haynes, who's then going to pick up a first down. You can say, oh, Bama's got great running backs. They don't have great running backs. They have good running backs. They're fine. They're solid, right? They're not elite. They're not special. We screwed that up. That's us. That's on us. That's fundamental football that we screwed up, and we've seen it time and time again the last year and a half from this Georgia defense, especially when it comes to defending the perimeter run game. Not good enough. There it is again. So let's watch this angle here from the sky. So yeah, there's TID doing what he's supposed to do. He's blowing up that blocker. He's spilling it. He's spilling the play to the outside. And team defense says Raylan Wilson should be fitting the run right here, taking the running back as soon as he spills the outside. But nope, Raylan gets sucked in ever so slightly, dips his head inside, and now there's no one out here. There's going to be a ton of room to the outside, and that is the recipe for a blown run fit that's going to create an explosive play for Alabama on the perimeter. So if you're wondering what's going on with perimeter run games, it's things like this. Stupid things that are imminently fixable, but at some point you got to fix them. Got to fix them. And this is coaching here, all right? So I talked about last week, we were way too passive in how we defended Jalen Milroe in the first half of the SEC title game a year ago. We had two guys spying him at a number of times in the first half of that game. So when we came out in the second half of the SEC title game, we were much more aggressive. We came out more aggressive in this game, bringing some pressure. I like that right here. But the thing I didn't like, which was not effective, it was that we were playing this really soft zone behind it. What I said last week coming to the game was, when you're talking about Alabama's receiving core, they don't have a ton of elite receivers. They have Ryan Williams. But Ryan Williams, as they told you, I don't know if you've heard, 17-year-old freshman. And he's 170 pounds, man. Like, he's not physically developed. You got to get up in that guy's face. And yeah, he's fast, and he can maybe burn you a time or two, but you got to get in his face and bully him. When you give them free access throws like this, you have no chance to stop that. No chance. you're giving them that cushion. You're giving them a first down when you do things like that. I did not love that. Fortunately, look at that. Like, you're just giving it to him. He's gonna cut the route off. He's gonna bend it off, and he's gonna make you miss because he's a shifty guy in space. Cut the space off. Here's again. This time it's in the slot. That's Kendrick Law for Alabama, and that is Janelle Aguero for Georgia. Easy access throws. Can't do it. And I know you're playing zone because you're afraid of Jalen Milroe. If you play man, you turn your back to him, he's going to take off and gut you the run. I understand that. But I don't mind spying with one guy. Do what we did with Jalen Walker against Brock Vandegrift late in the Kentucky game. As soon as he starts to leave the pocket, you just have your great athlete, Jalen Walker, great pass rusher trigger against him. He did a great job doing that against Alabama in the second half. We didn't have him do it much in this game. We were scared of the deep balls, scared of him taking off with his legs. We were more aggressive, bringing pressure, but I did not love the coverage behind it. And we changed it in the second half, but it was a little too late. All right, here's another one. First and goal, perimeter run game. Smile Munden getting sucked inside. Bad eyes. This is a really good angle here. I'll let this run. Look at his eyes. He's looking at Jalen Milroe. And look, Jalen Milroe's legs pose a threat, and that puts stress on the defense for sure. Do your job. Do your job. Against any other team, Smile Munden eats that play up for a 3-yard loss. Any other team, Smile Munden's already here. This play's eaten up for a 3-yard loss. That's a huge play for George in the red zone. You put him behind the chains. Love it. But go back and watch what Smile Munden does. Okay, and why is he not there to make the play? He should be on that running back. Why? Look at his eyes. Look where he's looking right now, right? See that? All right, now let's let it run just a little bit more. Where is he still looking? Ball's already been handed off. Ball's handed off. He's looking here. This is where your eyes need to be, okay? We have other guys here to take the quarterback. I know he's a threat. I know you're on the field. It's a different story, but I don't care. You are literally paid now to do better than this. You have got to be this ball carrier. You should, as soon as he touches the ball, you should be on him. And that's a 2-3-yard loss right there. But instead, poor eye discipline. He gets on the edge here and touchdown. Also, Dan Jackson, okay, you did a good job of taking it on with your inside shoulder, keeping your outside shoulder free, Dan. Great job. Outside shoulder free. Make the play. Make the play, okay? Be an athlete. Make the play. And just, man, you got to be a little more aggressive. Attack the ball carrier when you get a chance. Now, this one, I can't put this one on coaching, man. We schemed this up perfect. We got our best defender, the guy that we think is our best defensive player, Malachi Starks, matched up on their best playmaker on offense, which is Jalen Milroe. This is a critical play. So it's 21-0. At the time, we didn't know we were going to mount this comeback, but we know ultimately, spoiler alert, we do. Malachi, your job here is to play contain. You are the contain man. There's no one here. Your job is to take Milroe if he pulls the football. Let everyone else take the running back. Let this guy take the running back, okay? Which he does. He does, right? And when he takes the running back for Milroe, that is a classic pull read. He will pull the football, and he's going to run out here where Malachi Stark should be waiting to meet him in the backfield for a loss. Turn the ball over. Now you get the ball on the 40-yard line. Maybe you got a chance to go and get some points. Instead, watch what Malachi Starks does, who is a fantastic football player, man. We love Malachi, but gotta be real here. Look at him cheating inside. He's cheating inside, looking at the ball carrier or at the running back, at the mesh there. That is poor eye discipline. That's not your job. Do your job. The running back is this guy's job. He did his job. You do your job. You should be here to make the play. But when you jump inside ever so slightly against a guy like Jalen Milroe, jumping inside even as slightly as he did there, lethal, deadly, down the sideline, beat you to the edge, makes you look foolish, and he runs down the sideline, touchdown, now 28-0, barely 2 minutes into the second quarter. Those are things that you cannot do, and we did to ourselves. New season, same issues for the Georgia defense at large and the Georgia run defense in particular. The same issues that plagued us a year ago. And guys, these are things that should be eminently fixable. these should not be things that elude us or solutions elude us. And I would love to tell you, all right, yeah, like this is totally fixable because it should be, right? I want to tell you that, yeah, we are going to go clean this up. Don't worry about it. We'll be fine moving forward. We're going to improve. We'll get better as the season goes on because Kirby Smart teams usually do. But after seeing the same issues on defense, defending the perimeter run game, tackling, poor eye discipline, I have to wonder, will it get fixed? We should be able to fix those things. But after seeing it now for almost a year and a half, I don't know. I don't know if I can sit here with a straight face and tell you guys, oh yeah, it's going to get fixed. I wish I could. I just don't know if I feel like I can do that right now. Now, I will say this in defense of the Georgia defense and their performance on Saturday night. There is no more Jalen Milroe on this regular season schedule. Now, potentially in the playoff, if we're fortunate enough to do what we have to do to get to that point, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. There's no one else on our schedule that has a player like Jalen Milroe. You can say maybe Nico Iamaleava at Tennessee, not the same player, not the same kind of guy, not the same level athlete. They don't use him the same way that Alabama uses Jalen Milroe. So a lot of mistakes were absolutely on us, right? We just went through that. I still believe that. I will stand by that. A lot of those mistakes are just on us, things that we should know better than, things that we should not be doing at this stage with our coaching staff, with the players that we have. Those things should not be happening. But there is also a part of this that Jalen Milroe is just a freak, man. And he puts a lot of stress on a defense, and that does play a role in some of the things that we saw, at least a minor role. I do think it's more just on us not doing things that we are coached to do. And that's the thing, guys. I think regardless of Jalen Milroe, regardless of how talented he is, and he is insanely talented, we are talking about basic, fundamental football things here. Things that you are taught in Little League football, that you get taught in high school, that gets reinforced at the college level. These are not things that are new to these guys that play for the University of Georgia. This is stuff that we rep and practice over and over and over again. Stuff that is hammered into the heads of these players by our coaches over and over and over again. On the football field, on the practice field, in the meeting rooms, in the film room, they hear it over and over again. And these are things that we still just are not executing. And it's tough to have an answer for that. I want to say that we can fix those things because we should be able to. I just don't know, man. I'm at a loss right now. But saying that, I do want to end this episode on a note of positivity. You've got to be positive, guys. You've got to look forward. The season's not over. It's a different era with this 12-team playoff. And while that loss is exceptionally difficult to stomach still today for me, and I'm sure all of you out there, it did also yield some hope for the rest of the season, especially the way that second half went. That showed us, that second half against Alabama showed us what this Georgia football team is capable of when we get out of our own way. Now, the problem is we haven't gotten out of our own way enough this season. I think we played 2 elite halves of football out of 8 halves of football. I think second half of Clemson, second half of Bama. Pretty much elite for the most part, right? Outside of that, we played well enough to win games, but not really at an elite level. But if we play to our capability, if we play the way that we did in the second half, if we can put that together for a full game, we can beat anybody in the country, including Alabama. They beat us on Saturday. They were the better team on Saturday. They played better. They played more disciplined. They played cleaner. They deserve to win that football game. Absolutely. But if we played the way we did in the second half for a full game against Alabama, I know the context might be a little different. We're not going to go for it on every fourth down in the second half. It might be a little different there. But if we play that well, if we start to execute like that and get our playmakers the football and start to really accentuate the talent that we have on this roster, we could beat Alabama. Absolutely. On a neutral site, absolutely could beat Alabama. We could beat anybody in the country. The challenge is we have to figure out how to do that. We have to figure out how to get our talent to play like that more consistently. So I cannot guarantee you that that will happen at any point this season. I can hope, but I can't guarantee you that it will happen. But if it does, watch out. This Georgia team ain't dead yet. All right, guys, I appreciate you. Thank you for checking out this episode. Again, if you enjoyed this type of content, make sure to subscribe to this channel right now. Check out the Glory UGA podcast, wherever you get your podcasts, like all those things. It's greatly appreciated. I'm Tyler, and as always, go Dogs.
Man, is there going to be some property destroyed tonight. 26-21. Dogs on top.